Welcome back, guys. One of the great things about making these videos is I get to learn about the way things are all over the world. Hopefully you guys do too. Now, in some places in the world, the characters you know and love from your favourite TV shows and movies look very different to how you know them. Are they cooler? Are they kind of weirder looking? Let's find out, shall we, as we jump into the top 10 characters that look different around the world. Coming in at number 10 now, we have the cast of Friends. Phoebe, Joey, Chandler, Ross, Rachel and Monica. Friends is probably one of the most successful sitcoms of all time. There have been talks for years of a remake, a reunion and more spin-offs ever since it finished, but not many people expect that one would come from China. Yeah, in 2013 the show was remade there with pretty much the exact same plot, 6 friends in their 20s living with each other in the big city. One thing I found pretty strange though is that they chose to not use the Cantonese word for friends as the title. Instead they went with Planet Home Buddies. That's so weird. I have a feeling that the original Friends wouldn't have actually lasted that long if it was called Planet Home Buddies. Next up at number 9 now, we have Walter White and Jesse Pinkman. Now a lot of you guys may recognize these two characters as the stars of Breaking Bad, one of America's biggest shows in recent years. Well, it was so big that they remade it in Colombia. It's called Metastasis and the two characters have remained largely unchanged. Walter White is now Walter Blanco and Jesse Pinkman is now Jose Rojas. I think that's how it's pronounced. Now this is what they look like. Their characters get up to pretty much the same sort of meth making, criminal activities as the original. The only difference is that their meth lab is actually an old school bus and not an RV. Sometimes I feel like making meth in a school bus is even more criminal. Moving on to number 8 now, we have the Powerpuff Girls. Some of you guys might be too young to remember the Powerpuff Girls. I can't believe I just said that, but it ran from 1998 to 2005 and it was one of the biggest American cartoons at that time. Blossom, Bubbles and Buttercup were the 3 girls with superpowers. Well, here is what they look like in Powerpuff Girls Z, the Japanese remake of the show that first aired in 2006. The girls were pretty much the same, except their superpowers turned them into Hyper Blossom, Rolling Bubbles and Powdered Buttercup. They just kind of change the names. I might just stick a random word like that in front of my name. Powdered Burke. Nice. Sounds tasty. Next up at number 7 now, we have the cast of Modern Family. It's become one of America's biggest family sitcoms in recent years and has just finished its 8th season. Well, if you've ever wondered what they would look like if they were from Chile, meet Familia Moderna. Jay and Gloria are now Pepe and Sarah. Claire and Phil are Paula and Juan Pablo, while Mitch and Cameron have become Gustavo and Fernando. Now as you can see, the characters are kind of similar except for one difference. Same-sex adoption is illegal in Chile, and so Gustavo and Fernando are just looking after the girl while her mother is traveling. I think it's pretty obvious what's going on though. Coming in at number 6 now, we have Rochelle from Planes. In 2013, Disney Toons released Planes. Rochelle is a speedy racing plane featured in the movie, but depending on where in the world you watched it, she would be different colours. In the US, she was pink, red and white. In Australia, she was red, green, yellow, black and white with a little kangaroo on the side, while in Germany, she's white, black, yellow, red and called Heidi. Yes, Heidi. I feel like that's the most stereotypical female German name in the world. Moving on to number 5 now, we have Glee. The American show Glee aired its final episode in 2015, but that doesn't mean it was truly over, at least in China, where it was remade into a show called My Youth High 8 Degrees. I thought I'd made a mistake there, but that's actually what it's called. I don't really know what that means. This version was set in a university, not a high school, but you can still find Chinese versions of the same characters you know from the original. It's a little bit controversial because some people say it's a complete rip-off, while the show itself says they worked with the original Glee team to create it. Alright, at number 4 now, we have Desperate Housewives. This show was insanely popular for 8 years until its final season in 2012. The comedy, drama, mystery hybrid did so well that it was remade into Desperate Housewives Africa. Produced in Nigeria, the show first aired in 2015 and every character from the original has its own counterpart in this version. So far, the plot kind of follows similar arcs, although the show has been minimally adapted to include African themes and the actual names of the characters are a lot more African sounding. Moving on to number 3 now, we have Michael Scott from The Office. Now I'm sure a lot of you guys will know and love this show. It was adapted from the original British version with Michael Scott's counterpart being David Brent, but the tragically awkward boss character has been remade all over the world. In Germany he is Bernd Stromberg and in France he is Gilles Tricquet. way. They obviously all look different, but they still retain that kind of awkward, frumpy look. A look that I hope to achieve one day. Alright, next up at the number 2 spot now, we have Michael Scofield from Prison Break. This hit American show featured Michael Scofield intentionally getting himself thrown in jail to help his brother escape from it. It was remade in Russia and it's called Pobeg. Michael Scofield is now Alexei Chernov. Although the show is very Russian in name and in nature, you might be surprised by just how similar Alexei is to Michael and how similar the plots are in the show. I guess if your show is called Prison Break, doesn't really matter where in the world it is, they always kind of, you know, have to break out of prison. And finally now, at the number 1 spot, we have the newscaster in Zootopia. Now this movie came out in 2016 with a whole bunch of talking animated critters. It even featured an animal news channel called ZNN. Now depending on where in the world you watch this movie, one of the news anchors would be a different animal. In North America it was a moose, in Japan it was a tanuki, in Australia and New Zealand a koala, and in Brazil it's a jaguar. Wow, I have never said countries and animals so much so quickly before. Alright guys, you know the drill. If you want a part 2 of this, let me know. I did mix, you know, kind of adult shows and kids movies together in this one. If you'd like me to focus on just one, then make yourself heard in the comment section below. I am still Danny Burke. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video.